Hi, everyone. I hope you are staying well, staying healthy. I thought this was a great time as we're entering, kind of reopening up our state, the final stretch here, the home stretch, to talk about how you've been eating. I know a lot of us, I took an informal survey, and it turns out 80% of those polled said they have gained weight in the last 7 weeks. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to talk to our dear friend, lifestyle coach Kwavi, who also specializes in health, wellness, and nutrition. Kwavi, thank you for being with us.
Oh, welcome. I'm so excited.
You look beautiful and healthy and happy.
Thank you.
I was surprised to find when I took this poll on Instagram and then an informal poll with my girlfriends that, 80% said they have gained weight. I know I myself weighed myself 3 pounds. Let's talk about what's at the core of this. Are we eating too much when we eat, or is it truly that we have that snack bug because we're in the house all day long? What is it that you're hearing?
I think for the most part is the schedules have changed. When we're busy, we typically don't eat unless we're hungry. Like if we're hungry, we'll eat. But we're now, we're home, we're spending more time with the kids, with the husband. We have a lot of free time. We're not used to that. Most times in the evenings, we're either maybe rushing out to take our kids to soccer or one sporting activity or the other, or we have meetings or after dinner meetings. All that's gone. So now we actually have to spend time with ourselves. And it can be uncomfortable for a lot of people. Like, okay, I need something to do. So mostly by using food as entertainment, quite frankly.
Yes, Kwavi, I couldn't agree more. I've baked 2, and I'm not a baker, I've baked 2 banana breads in 2 weeks. And literally before this interview started, I grabbed my cup of coffee and I almost cut myself another piece. I've already had one this morning. So you're right. It's part of what has been sort of our entertainment or our passing the time is cooking more and cooking with our children. And as you mentioned, it's more accessible because we're not doing so much. But now here is where we can sort of change the trend as we are, some of us, going back to work slowly in phases. What is it that we can do to get back on this healthy train and kind of stop these habits that we might have created for ourselves during this quarantine period?
So one of the first things that we really have to ask ourselves is, whenever, and this is for any time you put any food in your mouth, is, am I really hungry? That should be a mental question you ask all the time. Because if you're eating for the other reason than nutrition, then you're overeating. And when you overeat, you'll gain weight. So that is the first question I want people to ask themselves. And also start to plan. Like typically when we're busy, we have all these different errands and we're working, we have a plan. But now it's like, oh, I'll just go with the flow. Like even those that made lunch for themselves, they're like, oh, I'll just go in the refrigerator and look for something. When you don't plan, you'll eat whatever's inside. That's the unfortunate thing.
Right. And I'm totally agreeing with you that at the beginning of a work week, maybe I'm defrosting things. There is a plan of action. And speaking of a plan, a lot of people writing it down, having a food diary, that seems to work for them. Would you suggest kind of going back to that to hold ourselves accountable?
Oh, yes, for sure. One of the things I recommend to my clients, that's like the first thing, is a food journal, in addition to weighing themselves daily. And I know some people are probably going to be like, I don't want to weigh myself daily. But guess what, though? That's a baseline. That's how you'll know if what you're doing is working or not. So weighing yourself daily and a food journal are important. I think because sometimes, it's so funny, sometimes I have some clients that will come in and I'll ask them, I'll say, how much, what do you eat? And they'll have comments like, well, I don't eat a lot. I'm like, what does that mean?
Right.
And then when they start to journal their food, they're like, oh my goodness, I didn't believe I was eating that much. So it's good for you too. It's accountability for yourself too.
Right. Another question I want to get to, and I've never found out your thoughts on intermittent fasting. And I think it's interesting. Again, the key thing people are probably going to take away with this is that we've broken our routines. We typically eat dinner early in our household. The other night, I was doing a leftovers night. Jim and I were planning reopening his business. So all of a sudden, guess when he and I sat down to have our leftover pasta of all things, carbs, 10 o'clock at night. We never eat that late. Even my daughter who's heading to bed goes, you guys are eating really late. So, It's true, because normally I'm done eating in different times, in normal times at
Yeah.
8 p.m. and I'm not having anything again till 7. So talk about the concept of intermittent fasting, and if that could help us when we are trying to create these new healthier habits.
Yeah, I love intermittent fasting. I practice it myself. I introduce it to my clients. I think it's a great way for you to reset and maintain, because you have an eating window. So you stick with that window, and you can make your window in the beginning, you can make it larger, and then you can kind of make it smaller as you go, you get more used to it. But having an eating window is a great way to lose weight and maintain, for sure. Oh yeah, I love intermittent fasting.
Talk to people about what it actually means. I mean, can you break it down in really kind of a layman's terms for anyone who, hasn't read that it's sort of been a buzz expression in the weight loss world for the last few years?
Yeah. So really what you're doing is you're really extending your fast. So when we sleep, we're more or less fasting. So rather than waking up and going straight to eat, you kind of extend your fast. And I love that philosophy, because one of the things I speak to when I speak with my clients is I always ask them, don't eat the first thing in the morning if you're not really hungry. And intermittent fasting teaches you that, to kind of extend it, because most of us eat out of habit. You might not even need to eat breakfast, but you're having breakfast at 8 or 9 o'clock, but your body doesn't even need that at time. So the intermittent fasting, you push it. So you could have your first meal at maybe 11 or 12. And you could do like a 12, you could have an 8-hour window where for 8 hours, that's your eating window. So you eat all your meals. Now, when I say eat all your meals, doesn't mean you're snacking it. No, you're also practicing the thought of, am I hungry? And when I say hungry, physically hungry, not emotionally hungry. So when you're able to answer the question, am I physically hungry? Then you eat within that window. So it could be, your eating window could possibly be between 12 and 8. It could be 6 hours if you've practiced it over time. Some people just do a 12 to 6, like 12 noon to 6 p.m.
Wow.
For the rest of the time, but the beautiful thing is, our bodies have enough fat within us to use for energy. So you can go for a longer period of time without eating. It's just that a lot of us don't do that. But our bodies can sustain us. Listen, no one's going to, you look at some people are probably thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to stop.
No.
We have enough fat stores to convert to energy to keep us going for that period of time.
Right. All right, now that we talked about, what we're eating, let's also talk about what we're drinking, because I think it goes without saying, we have seen the statistics of liquor sales during this crisis. I know myself, we, try, again, during normal times, to not drink several days a week. On the weekends, we may relax and unwind. We have had many nights we're having 1 to 2 glasses, 1 to 2. Guess what? That adds up. That is our calories that, normally I'm not used to having. And I will say the 3 or so pounds I've gained, I want to say, I think it's probably not necessarily because of the food intake. It's the increase in alcohol.
I agree with that. And for a lot of people are drinking to escape right now. It's not really social drinking, really. It's just, these are uncertain times. They don't know what's going on. Some people have maybe lost their jobs, and they're just uncertain. They're more anxious. There are lots of emotions. And quite frankly, they're just drinking out their emotions because they just don't want to deal with the reality of it. And the sad part about it is, even if after you've had the alcohol, the issue is still there. So it's not really solving the problem. But a lot of people are using alcohol to escape, for sure.
Right. And I will tell you, if there's one thing you've learned, any of you who we're talking to out there, including myself, who have thought something's going to be better in the morning because you had a few drinks the night before, it's never that way. That problem is still there. So we need to find different coping mechanisms, and we need to literally take inventory, I think personally, of, okay, is this becoming a problem? And that's what a lot of people on the argument of opening our country back up, that's what they're saying, that this isn't just, we're not being selfish. This is not just about the health ramifications of COVID-19, but also the mental health issues that we're dealing with. Any thoughts on that as well?
So I think one of the issues really is, with the whole COVID-19, people deal with it differently. And my take on it is, we need to remember that we all need to find a solution to it within our own way. So we're all responsible for a solution within our own way. So if you do decide to open up or you don't, whatever you're doing, make sure you're keeping safe. Because this problem is a collective problem that all of us individually can help resolve. So if you're going out there opening, make sure you take the extra precautions. If you're staying home, make sure you take that, because you're still going to the grocery store, you're still going to a few places. Make sure you stay safe. That's so important.
Bobby, I couldn't agree with you more. And most importantly, we need to use compassion and empathy, because there are all sides of this argument that make valid points. So try to respect each other's opinions. As you said, whatever you decide is best for you and your family, just make sure that you're staying safe. And last thing that I want to touch upon, because I think it's so important, and you especially with your being a health coach, focusing on nutrition, a lot of people are scaling back what they're spending, what their budget is. A lot of things that are healthy are expensive. So in terms of those fresh fruits and vegetables, what advice can you give to people? We have families out there who are thinking, I'm not shopping at Whole Foods Market. I am not, getting organic this or that can be more of a higher price tag.
Yes.
How do we help these people who are struggling stay healthy and eat the right things and have the proper nutrition during this challenging time?
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think if there was ever a time for us to really focus on our health, it's right now. So for instance, in terms of food that you can purchase, you can get canned food. I mean, it's not as good in health-wise, but listen, it will do. Buy dried foods like dried beans. It's going to take you more time to cook, but guess what though? Beans are so inexpensive, and it's has a lot of protein. So that's a substitute for chicken and meat. You can use that. Frozen food, frozen fruit, get those. Those will last a longer time. And also what I do, even when I buy fresh stuff, I find ones that I can freeze, because there's nothing worse than you buy something and it goes bad.
Right.
So I actually freeze a lot of my items even after I've purchased them, so that they can last longer.
Bobby, such great advice, because it goes without saying, people are struggling, and I don't, want us to talk about nutrition like it is, so easy and so accessible to everyone right now. So thank you for those great reminders. And any last comments as we are entering a brand new month? Summer is around the corner, but again, we're all a little bit anxious as we enter this new phase going forward.
One of the things I'd like to share is, and you kind of alluded to this, the compassion part is so important. But I want everyone to kind of have that future focus. When all of this ends, how do you want to show up? Do you want to be more empowered? Do you want to be more healthy? Do you want to have grown in some way? Think about that, because now is the time to take the steps for your future that you're planning. So just think about, okay, how do I want to come out of all of this? And do and take whatever steps you can right now, so that you can get to that point.
Bobby, that was so beautifully said. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. You're just a beautiful soul inside and out, and I really needed a Kwavi dose today to get on the right track. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thanks.